Hello, friend. Do you need a little courage or confidence to step forward with your life? Do you have an idea or a dream, but you're full of doubt and feel stuck because you don't even know where to begin? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to Step Forward Midlife. I'm your host, Terri Mullen, a mom to 4 adults, wife of 34 years, a midlife entrepreneur, and your confidence coach who once walked in those same shoes. I learned to transform doubt into confidence, to speak, write my book, start a podcast, and my business in midlife. And now I empower other amazing women just like you to do the same. Please join me and some of my friends here each week as we share strategies about how we overcame those limiting thoughts, found our voice, and our confidence to step forward with our life, and even rekindle those dreams like starting a business. So grab those tenacious tennis shoes and let's step forward together. I'm here to encourage you every step of the way. Hello, friends. Welcome to Step Forward Midlife, formerly known as Hello Redlow. I feel like I sound a bit like Prince, formerly known as. Anyway, I shared on a video recently that I made these changes and how hard it is to step forward and make a change. And I got thinking about why we resist it. Why do we resist change? Are you with me? Are you feeling it? Have you ever made a change in your life and it feels so uncomfortable, right? It's messy, it's hard, you kind of want to stay in your comfort zone. Well, I have been in it and going through it these past few weeks, and I shared that even on my previous podcast. But changing the name of your podcast or any part of your brand is something that you really don't take lightly. Because the truth is, it's hard, right? You want to get the words right. You know, I think back to 3 years ago when I chose Hello Redlow, why I chose it, and now trying to change it again. You know, it all has to align with what my mission is. I wanted to incorporate my book, Step Forward, wanted to incorporate who I actually serve, which really is midlife women, anyone that's like 40, 45 and above. And then I just want to make sure it makes a powerful statement, right? And then we have to take into consideration search engine optimization. Something these past many months I've really learned. Before I just kind of ignored it. I'm kind of a hot mess when I try things. And I think for most creators, we just kind of dive in and do it and then try to fix it and clean it up later. So that's kind of how I do things, and not always the best approach. But I do have a little bit of that fearless approach where I just will do something and figure it out. But I do have some roadblocks too. I was so attached to Hello Redlow, something that we're really not supposed to do. When you're marketing, you're really not supposed to get attached to your brand, but it really became part of my baby, and I grew this whole thing and became very attached to it. And Redlow, you know, really is like my avatar. And I kind of have this whole list of who she is. So anyway, all that to say, I will keep Hello Redlow as my business and part of my brand. That's not going anywhere. In fact, if you actually type in Hello Redlow into the Spotify podcast, my podcast still comes up because it's still a part of all the words and the keywords and all of that. So anyway, the podcast today really is about why we struggle with change and why we resist it. A few generations back, most people's lives stayed very much the same from the beginning to end. People kind of grew up where their parents had grown up. They did the work a lot of their parents had done. They believed and knew the things the previous generations believed in, and people didn't really move that far away. But today, our world is so different. We're very global, and moment to moment, we change, right? We have to learn to embrace that. You know, we're connecting with people around the globe on Zoom and on Instagram and Facebook and all social media platforms. And businesses are very global now, right? So a lot has really changed, and our adaptability needs to be at that level as well. So these are the reasons I think we resist change. I've experienced it many times. You know, those limiting doubts, number one, really rise up when we're stepping forward and trying something new. So don't be surprised when those limiting beliefs rise up in you when you're stepping forward and maybe launching a podcast, writing a book, starting a new career, whatever it is that you're trying new. All that doubt and fear and feeling of uncertainty or not feeling qualified will rise up in a big way. And just acknowledge it and realize it's there, and you know, give it a name if you need to. I share that in my book. I have a name for doubt. I call it Debbie Doubter. And just tell her to be quiet and then keep moving forward. But our brains want to keep us safe, right? So anytime you try something new, our brains kind of go into overdrive. I'm going to get a little bit scientific for a hot second. The amygdala, that's the part of our brain that acts like a built-in alarm system, and it's constantly scanning our environment for potential threats, like anything that triggers that fight or flight response, especially when danger is perceived. So it keeps us on alert, and it's ready to react very quickly to help us avoid harm. And so there's no wonder we can't relax when we're going through a new change. And since our brain is constantly scanning for danger, we will most likely feel afraid when we make a change, right? So it puts us in that state of fight or flight. And I remember when I launched my book, oh, wow, how many times did I just want to quit, right? Especially at the most pivotal moments and pivotal times. And right when I was so close to publishing, you bet, that's when all that doubt and uncertainty and fretting over was it perfect and every little detail just rose up, like all my perfectionism just kind of came at me full and fast and furious. And sometimes, just as a forewarning, this is when we will self-sabotage and withdraw. So if you feel all this, you're normal, but be mindful and pay attention. The other reason I think we resist change is because it's the fear of the unknown, right? Change involves uncertainty. We don't know what really is going to happen, and we worry about any potential negative consequence as a result of the change, even if that outcome is going to be positive. And that fear can really lead to that resistance and that desire to cling on and hold on tight to what is familiar. Be mindful if you have thoughts of, what if I fail? What if I get it wrong? What will people think? Will they think I'm crazy? And we all know that you're not crazy because Jamie Kern Lima says, you're not crazy, you just might be first. So be mindful of that too. It's just that fear of the unknown. We resist that change because we don't know what's ahead. And there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee it's going to work, right? And it's okay if we make a mistake and fail. We just have to prepare for that and accept it. It's all part of the process. The other reason we resist change, I think, is just because we're unclear about the benefits of the change. And we really get in our own way. I'm so guilty of this. Besides being really comfortable where we are or being too scared to make that change, what makes that change really difficult is that we're not convinced about how much better our life or business or a relationship will be when we make that change. And we ask, is it worth it? And change can sometimes be a domino effect. One change leads to other changes. And changing one habit or one business idea or whatever that is that you're trying to change, it might involve other small changes. So we need to be prepared for that and prepare as best we can. We don't know all the things, but as long as you kind of plan and think about, or have people help you, people that have gone before you, kind of help you think in advance a little bit about what to expect, then it makes it a little bit easier. The other reason I think we struggle with change is because we feel a loss of identity. So a perfect example for me, as I shared earlier, is what happened with letting go of Hello Redlow, right? I had this attachment to it and I felt a loss. I truly was grieving letting go of that name. And as I shared in my previous episode, when I realized when we did this podcast audit and I was like, wow, I'm attached to Hello Redlow, but a lot of people don't know what it means. I'm always explaining what Redlow is and it's not very searchable. It doesn't have strong SEO. And because the podcast space now is so competitive and there's so many podcasts now in the podcast space, I think it's doubled. It's incredible. So we have to be mindful of that data and statistics, but it doesn't mean any change you make, you won't lose some part of you or some part of your identity, especially if you have a business. And as I shared, the number one rule is not to get emotionally attached to your brand. And that's really hard. And you see that in a lot of businesses today. As businesses really grow, sometimes the founder really gets in their own way and they get their business to a certain point, but then they don't know how to let go and let somebody else come in and get them to the next level. And that will really sabotage your success. Harvard Business Review says that when a change is first proposed, most people immediately want to know three things. What does this change mean to me? Why is it happening? And what will it look like when the change is made? And the truth is, most of us see change as a threat, right? It's really, really hard. And the best thing you can do is communicate why you're doing it and explain how it will have an impact and what makes it better so people have a better understanding. So what has helped me step forward and move beyond this resistance? Number one, I have to acknowledge it. I have to realize that, wow, I'm kind of in this messy middle. I feel it. I know I'm resisting it. And then write it down. Write down why I'm resisting it. What am I feeling? That makes it easier. That's that first step of awareness. And it really starts with our mindset, doesn't it? And really, what I've learned is that I acknowledge the negative. I see how hard it is. And then I need to flip it and turn it into, wow, this is exciting. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm leveling up and getting better. I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone. And this is going to be exciting. This is going to really help grow my business and my brand. And so once I start telling myself that, and I acknowledge the fear, I know what I'm afraid of, I know what's uncomfortable, and then I flip it into something more positive, it becomes so much easier. And my brain starts to rewire a little bit and think about the positive aspects of this. And one of the other positive aspects is that I'm now being coached by an amazing coach in this space who does 7 figures. So I really felt God tell me from the very beginning that pay attention and do everything Stephanie tells me to do. And so I have to keep coming back to that. Anytime I kind of want to defect and go off the path, which I'm known to do, I've got a little bit of a rebel in me. And I have to say, nope, I'm going to come back. I've invested in this program. I've invested in this coach. I'm going to stick with what she tells me. She knows more than me. And I'm going to do what she tells me. And so that really helps calm that chatter in my brain. And so I encourage you to get a coach, get someone who's gone before you that can help you and rein you back and bring you back on the path so that you can move forward. The other thing that's helped me is to have a routine, like do some things specific every day. I wake up really early, so I always have my coffee early in the morning and journal. For me, I just really have to get my thoughts on paper and just listen for downloads and my God whispers to move forward for the day and just listen to what God's telling me. And then I just relax for a bit. Then I take my dog for a walk. Now I just play music. I take this nice long walk, just let my mind wander and come back and I'm ready for my day. I will often hop on my Peloton bike and then get ready and move forward. So that routine really helps me. That's especially my morning routine is so important to me because my morning is sacred for me. And so if that's something for you, I encourage you to do that. Number 2, what's really helped me is not making too many changes at once. I have a tendency to kind of dive in and just make a hot mess with everything, but I've learned that it's really important just to prioritize what's most urgent, what needs to be done versus what can wait. What do I need to do today? Same for you. What can you do today or this week? What needs to get done to get you to that next level or place? And then what can you put on the burner when you have time to do it? So for me, this really calms my brain down because once we see this big decision we have to make, we kind of scramble, right? And we get overwhelmed. So it's really important to break it down into more manageable steps. The third thing for me is to learn to make decisions quickly, just kind of pivot and move. Otherwise, it's so easy to swirl in the drain and start overthinking. Some people call this decision fatigue. That is a phrase that was actually popularized by a man named John Tierney. He's a New York Times columnist, and the premise of this is that there's a tendency for people's decision-making to become impaired as a result of having to make a lot of decisions. Can you relate? So we get overwhelmed, and I actually shared that on my last podcast, episode 79. So just think about that. Learn to make decisions quickly, those that you can, and then don't make too many at once. The fourth thing is to keep it simple, like the KISS formula that many of us know. Keep it simple, sweetheart. What simple and easy decisions can you make? And then what decisions do you need to get support and advice from? And kind of break those into categories as well. But make a list in the day of things that you can do and just cross it off. There's incredible satisfaction in doing that. And the other thing for me too is giving myself a deadline to make a decision. And when I'm having a hard time making a decision, be mindful of that. Maybe it's not time to make that decision. Maybe it's not right. You've got some doubt you're just not facing. So kind of dive deeper into that when you are struggling with making a decision. And like I said, for me, the best thing I can do is set a timeline, give it a date, and make a decision and move forward. So I hope this helps you today. I just really wanted to share kind of my journey, what it's been like renaming my podcast, why it was hard, what I was struggling with. And if you struggle with making decisions and you find that resistance, I hope this inspires you and hopes you feel like you're not alone. So thank you for being here and listening in. I love doing this. I love sharing my thoughts and just trying to inspire and encourage all of you with things I've learned from both the mistakes and successes I've had, mostly my mistakes, and just believe in yourself, continue to step forward one step at a time. My goal is to empower you with confidence so that you can have greater impact and build greater income for yourself and start a business or whatever it is that you want to do in this midlife season. I've learned that it's never too late. If I can write a book at 59 and start a podcast and my business, so can you. I believe in you. You are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, and you belong. Keep stepping forward one step at a time. Until we meet again, may God bless you. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you found a few key takeaways that you can really implement in your own life. And if you're in a place where you feel like you need additional support to step forward and meet your goals, I would love to help you do that. I do one-on-one coaching. It's a much more in-depth, personalized program. And I will put that here in the show notes where you can reach out to me and we can just set up a quick call and make sure that would be a good fit. And then I also offer a live 6-week group course called Speak. It's for entrepreneurs, coaches, or course creators, or those that want to be one. And we do a deep dive into how to have the confidence to show up on camera and speak behind a microphone. I talk about all the things, how to use voice inflection, your tone, where to stand, what to do with your hands. And then I do the practical things about tools that I use here on the podcast and on video. I keep it super simple, how to edit, all those things. Then we dive into the art of storytelling, how to write and speak your content so that you can connect with your ideal client. We talk about crafting content, why it's important to use specific keywords and that not so sexy words, search engine optimization, and how important it is. And then we end with how to start and launch a podcast very simply and easily. So I help get you started. So if that's something you're interested in, I will put that in the show notes as well. I hope this helps you. Have an amazing day. I look forward to connecting with you and keep stepping forward.